Good morning. So what I'll do is I'll just take you through the background of Grange Gorman, what we've been doing to date, and what's coming up. This is Grange Gorman, for those of you who don't know where it is, and within the city core you can see the slightly darker area is between the canals and the circular roads is what's seen as Dublin city core. So Grange Gorman is quite a significant part of Dublin, and one of the key things you can get from this diagram here is there's a sort of fine network of streets to the south and to the east, but Grange Gorman itself kind of blocks that. So really, in terms of sustainability and the wider aims of Grange Gorman, what we're doing is we're integrating this brownfield site into the city and hoping to get as many spin-off benefits as possible, including things like local employment, recreation spaces, etc. This is the general scope for the project. As Tom mentioned, it's to do with relocating DIT from about 39 locations onto site. That's going to take a number of years. I think the latest projection I have is up to about 2025 by the time we finish it. There'll be about 25,000 people on site. It's also for HSE. It's historically been a site for healthcare. So what we're doing is upgrading that and bringing in some residential and primary care facilities, some of which we've already achieved. And then also for the local community and the local community around there, for businesses and the local citizens. This is the site, I suppose, on the left-hand side, the way it was. We reckon sometime in the late 40s, early 50s. It was a very institutional site, very walled off, and I think going back even to my own childhood, Grange Gorman was a threat. It wasn't really, my parents, grandparents were all from Dublin, having a clue where it is. So whereas now, with the work we're doing, it's now becoming a promise, and we have a lot of kids and parents ringing and asking when can they send their children to Grange Gorman. So that's a positive. We have three kind of key documents that we work to. The master plan, which I was involved in designing back in 2007. That's our vision document. We then have a procurement sort of business plan, which is our strategic plan, which outlines phasing and the like. And then our key one is the planning scheme. Now, the key piece of that really is if we comply with this, and we must comply with it, we get planning within 8 weeks, albeit we don't get additional information requests. So we've had 22 applications, all bar one have been granted within 8 weeks. So that gives us great certainty in terms of delivering the project. This is the site here now. Again, the master plan showing integration into the city. So this helps in terms of transport modal shifts, getting people into buses, bikes, walking to site as opposed to driving, and basically integrating the site into the city. So one of the engineers on site has always talked about many ways in and many ways through. So this is something we work very hard on. We have to talk to a lot of private landowners and other state agencies, including CIE, to try and get access across their lands and in and open it up. This is the master plan itself, and just in terms of what it is. Sorry, up. On the top really is North Circular Road, and then the first layer of development down is healthcare related stuff, 2 to 4 story development. Moving from the west across on that diagram, we've already delivered the first half of that, which is the Phoenix Care Centre I'll talk about. We've a primary care centre on site, and then we've a primary school. We've just appointed Grafton architects to complete. We have, just to the south of that is the main blocks, and they're all DIT core facilities. We have a West Quad, the academic hub, which we're about to go out to design teams for, I think either tomorrow or the day after. We have 2 quads which we've gone in for planning with Regina on PPPs, and then we have a lot of housing running through the house, student housing, about 2,000 beds, which we're again about to go out to procurement on with a contract notice of a joint venture partner. In terms of sustainability, we have an overarching strategy which addresses themes, and it's broken down itself into categories with aims, targets, indicators, etc. And we have monitoring reports on that. So in broad general terms though, what we did as master planners was the first thing we had to do was optimise the layout and get all the passive wins out of it. So all our quads face south, southwest. We try and capture as much of the prevailing winds to cool the buildings, etc. So we try and integrate all of that stuff before we hit technologies, etc., to help create better buildings, I suppose. This is an image of, more or less, this is taken from almost the same camera angle shot. This is the site, a part of the site in October 2013, and in the space of the year, with really excellent work from Roadbridge and our design teams, we have converted the site into something that is accessible and usable for both DIT and the local community. So one of the other key objectives again for the site was to bring back to life a lot of the protected structures, and again making it accessible to everyone. So a lot of these buildings have multiple uses. For example, the one there in the top left hand corner is an old church. It still is a church. It's the only building that's going to continue in its original use, going back from the 1800s. But during the week we use it for lectures, we use it for public meetings, all sorts of presentations. We also have, we've created a lot of vibrant places as well, like public spaces. So that sort of hits on themes of healthcare and, general health, I suppose, and public health and well-being, and also creating places where, trees and birds and all this kind of stuff can play. Another key thing for us was creating a sense of place, a positive sense of place. Again, it's something that everyone wants to be associated with Grangegorman now, as opposed to 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't want to be associated with the place too much. This is something that I think the HSE deserve a huge amount of credit for. This is the Phoenix Care Centre, and this is basically, I think it's the cutting edge for mental health facilities, I think in Europe probably at this stage. It's the equivalent of going for the patients, going from I think a very run-down Dickensian type facilities that they were in before. There was rooms where 12 men were sharing, and now all of a sudden they have en-suite facilities. So the likes of things like chemical and physical restraints and incidents on site for the patients, that's gone way down. Their stay has gone way down. So in terms of helping the community and helping the site users, the likes of these good buildings, this was built by CISCs, these sorts of things are a huge benefit to everyone. The other one I think now is transport and mobility management, and I think the key piece of the pie to look out for here are the purple ones. That's your car usage. So HSE, about 2/3 of the staff would use cars, and we're now moving down towards a third of them using cars now. I don't think you're going to get much better than that because of their antisocial or unsociable hours, I should say. The other is DIT. They would have an extremely good transport modal shift or modal profile. So they're going from 11% cars down to 7% cars. So because of the nature of their sites. The next kind of project here is Broadstone Gate. Now this is another one we're quite proud of. This is something that hits a lot of buttons for us. It's a public space, it's a public civic plaza, it's a public transport interchange. It allows Bus Éireann and Dublin Bus to serve their existing sites there. And it's also the front door for Grangegorman. Now this is something we worked with. I think there was about seven public bodies involved in the design and delivery of this. It's now currently on site as part of Lewis Cross City. But I think it's a really good example of how the public sector, when working together, can produce something really worthwhile. Another key aspect of Grangegorman is local employment. We have a kind of a three-pronged approach to this, and it's something that we insist on all our contracts, and it's working extremely well to date. There's obviously the local employment aspect, there's training and education for people in the area, and then it's also a lot of engagement with local businesses. There's a lot of sort of side projects as well that have spun off on this using both DIT and HSE, as well as a lot of other public bodies and voluntary bodies, which involve engagement with the local community and long-term employed. So what we do is we go out and we tell all our contractors that they're going to have to adopt our charter, and it's part of the tender. They sign up to it, and what they do at the start is they give us a skills, what they anticipate as being the skills needs over the length of the contract. We go out and tell the local employment services what's needed and basically act as a marriage service. We have a database of people with skills in the area, and we have the needs for the contractor, and we try and marry it up. And so far it's worked extremely well. There's a lot of kind of anecdotal evidence of guys working for the likes of Burke's and BAM who've gone on to work on other sites in Dublin. And there's a lot of apprenticeships now being generated, I think, through one of the local steelworks companies, thanks to one of our jobs. This is the profile on the number of employees we've had. This is the latest update. We get monthly reports on all of these just to keep an eye on things and making sure it's been implemented properly. But by and large, we started off hitting about 11%, and as we worked through and got better at it, and contractors have begun to understand what it is we're trying to achieve, we're hitting 20% and above. And that's all employees, not just new employees, which was the original intent, so it's working extremely well. And I think the key thing to this is that it's a win-win-win for everyone. The contractors see the benefits for this, as opposed to just simply being a gun to their head. Now, in terms of upcoming work, these are the jobs that we have on site. The orange ones are ones we've completed, which include the Phoenix Care Centre, some demolitions contracts and our adaptive reuse. Blues are the ones we have in contract. Site infrastructure, our public realm is actually coming to an end, the first phase in a few weeks' time. Greens are in planning, which is our PPPs. We are also, and then the rest of them are our works in early planning on feasibility, with the one exception of primary school, which we've now appointed the design team for. Now, a lot of the work we have on the books is, there are various procurement types, be it joint venture or traditional, that we were funded through a lot of different sources. So we've a very complex kind of procurement planning scheme going on at the moment. This is one of the PPPs, or one of the PPP quads, the central quad. It's in planning at the moment, designed by Field and Clegg Bradley in the UK. I have to say, if all goes well, this could be a really stunning piece of work. It will replace Kevin Street and Galbraith Street. The next one there is the East Quad, and this will contain things like music and arts for DIT, social sciences, legal, and etc. And between these two buildings, these will account for about 10,000 people, which is about the size of DCU or NUI Maynooth. So you can see they're quite significant buildings. This is another one, the Primary Care Centre, which is on site by L&M Keating, are working on it at the moment. And just as an aside, I was just told yesterday that they're signing up contracts with, or signing on a lot of local guys at the moment, and they've been in discussions with PH Ross, one of the local builder suppliers, to go for the supplies. And these are all as a direct result of our local employment strategy. By and large, this is the number of this is the sort of the amount of work we have on the books at the moment. About 360 million euros worth of work. That's currently on books, but we're planning for another 250 million. So this is all DIT related stuff. The key ones being the Library Academic Hub and the West Quad being Ainger Street. So we're looking to progress that much quicker now. And we're hoping to have as I said, the PQQ notice up probably tomorrow for our design teams to get that up and going. That will account for about another 2,000 jobs up to about 2018, 2019 on site. And again, we're hoping to get around another 400 jobs locally out of that. That's it.